thank you for joining us.
Namaste.
So today I thought we would do some poses. I'm going to use my cotton thin blanket, but if you have a towel is okay. Most of us have towels or blankets around. It's just that a thicker blanket might be a little more challenging, but I just thought we would go through some poses and ways that you might use a rolled towel or a rolled blanket. So let's begin. So I have this cotton blanket, which is nice because it's, skinnier than other things. I'm just going to roll it a little bit so that it's just kind of like that. So if you have a towel, you can do that too. Because the first thing we're going to do has to do with the head and the neck. So your roll will be dependent on your neck. So when you come down to lie on this, it's like your head is on the blanket, but your neck is on the little roll part of it. And then if you can take the sides, holding the side of the blanket or the towel, and just lift the elbows up, and then just give yourself a little pull in the neck. Some of the advantage of this is you'll get a little bit of work in the elbows and arms too. And then of course you can release the arms and open the elbows wide. It's nice to soften them that way. And then lift them up again and give yourself a nice little tug. And what's nice is this little roll wraps behind my ears as well. And if I want to do a little bit more movement, I can kind of rock with my arms, the head side and side. And it might give you a stretch between the shoulder blades. It's going to be different for everybody. And I can really feel the work in my arms. And then release and open. And then move that out and just notice how your head and neck are right now. Feels pretty good to me. And then take your towel or your blanket and roll it all the way. And of course you have different ways to roll. I'm going to roll it the length way. So just roll it all the way up this time. And then come and put it underneath the shoulder blades so you get a little bit of a chest opening. And you can either stay here with the feet on the floor, the knees bent, or you can extend one leg out and then the other. And you can keep the legs activated while you support this chest opening. And of course, sometimes people need smaller rolls or sometimes they like larger rolls, but the cotton blanket for me is soft and it's not too thick of a roll for at least the start of a practice. Sometimes you may want more chest lift, but right now this feels good to me. And really see if you can feel the breath initiate from the belly through the side body and up to the upper chest. And then as you exhale, see if you can keep that chest lifted. Really breathe through the nose. If you want to do a little bit of breath retention. You can have a long exhale, pressing the abdominals in. Then let the air come in, coming up to the top of the breath. That chest lifted, and you can take a pause there. And then you can go back to normal breathing, or you can do a few more like that. But keeping the legs active means that this is not just a relaxing pose, but the legs are active, which allows the chest to really open. And then finish off whichever breath practice you're doing. And then slowly slide one foot up till the knees bend, and then the other. And then take one of your hands and just slide it over the other hand and bring it to the opposite palm, and then slide it back, and you open up to the ceiling again. Then take the other hand, going across the collarbones to the opposite hand. Then open, and we'll do that 2 more times, sliding over. You just let the knees drop as they come, or lift them up as you need to, and then slide the other hand over. Come back. And then roll off to the side and take your blanket long ways, and then place your sacrum down at the bottom here, and come back and just lie your spine over that blanket. So you still have a bit of chest opening, but it's a different sensation. And then we're going to try a little bit of abdominal waking. So what happens when you bend the knees in and lift them up? Perhaps you can't lift them all the way to 90 degrees because you have a little bit of that blanket in your sacrum. But there's something interesting here to see what happens when you start to do that. Now, if you need to, you can always have the legs lower, and you can always just have them knees still bent if straightening them doesn't work for you. And again, if you want to change the arm position, you can interlock fingers under the head. So there's a little balancing issue here too. But there's something really nice because I feel like I'm getting more of a stretch across those collarbones. And do 2 more, however it works for you. And then just drop those knees down, and then take your towel or your blanket and put it sideways again. And this time we're gonna just put it right down here at the top of the hip or right under the waist. And we're gonna come down for a stretch through the side waist, And then your feet are going to be in a V where the top leg comes forward, the bottom leg comes back. You might have to look up because sometimes the tendency, at least I've noticed, is people want to bring that forward leg up more. And then it's not in that sort of balanced little V. And then hold that top wrist with the bottom arm. Now we're getting some, but really keep the feet flexed, like you're pressing through the feet as if there was a floor there. And your bottom arm is supporting your side of your head, or the whole head actually. So a couple of breaths here. And then release, then you can roll to the side and I will roll this way so I'm facing the camera. And then put it on the other side. Of course, you may have to adjust it. You may feel like there's too much in the rib cage, but you really want to lengthen the rib cage here and put it in that space where there are no ribs, or maybe it's floating rib. And then the top leg comes forward, the bottom leg comes back. And as I said, you need to check them to make sure they're pretty even, feet flexed, so you can really press through the feet and the legs. So while this is on the floor yoga at the moment, there's still action going on, and there's still active body parts. So it's not just hanging out and relaxing all the muscles. So here you're activating the legs, and then you use this bottom arm, the thumb and the first finger, to really open through the shoulder and through the side body here. And then release that arm. And then come up. Into big toes together, knees wide. And what you'll do with the blanket here, or the towel, and this is where you can play with the roll. You can either put the whole roll in there, or maybe you just want to have a little roll in here and let the rest come over your knees. And then, like I think we've done this in the past with the belt, you're going to pull on the side of it and then really lengthen forward. You may find that your head doesn't go on the floor. That's all right. But again, by pulling the side here, you are getting a little arm workout. And then inhale, coming up. And then take the blanket, and here's where it's going to be dependent on you and your heels. Either have it, just like so. Maybe you need it even bigger. So like I have folded it even more. So this is how it usually hangs out in my equipment thing, and I've folded it over and then again. So it has a more flat edge than rounded edge. So here's where you're going to, you might have to play with it in terms of what works best for you, but putting the hands a little bit forward and then tucking the toes to come into downward dog, and you've got heel support. So this is when you can bring your legs a little bit wide, so not too narrow. make sure that you're really pressing through the balls of the feet and then pressing through the hands. You're really trying to get the heels on that blanket. And then inhale, coming down and go into big toes together, knees wide. And as you move the sit bones back, see if you can still feel that length in the side body you got from that blanket on the heels. And then inhale, come forward. Again, bring those hands a little forward. Tuck the toes under. And find that blanket with your heels again. So each of us are going to be different. So you may need more height, less height. And then slowly walk the hands towards the feet. And this time, put the balls of the feet on the blanket. But again, of course, if that's too much the way it is, you can make it smaller. So it's like that. And you're just going to, you can reach the edges of it, really press the heels down, press the front feet into that blanket, and then see if you can look forward and get more stretch in the legs. And then you can release it down, let go of the head and neck, hands on your feet, or maybe you can just put your hands on your shins if it's not possible to put on your feet. And then again, grab the blanket or towel, and then if you can inhale, look forward, lift that chest, and then you can slowly drop the head. And then bending the knees, and you can slowly roll up to standing. And this is probably where it's better to have a belt, but so be it. So bring the feet hip width, and then you can lift the towel or the blanket over your head and just get a stretch. Now you can do it in a few different ways. You can bring the hands closer together, or you can bring them really wide apart. And actually, we'll go through this twice so you can play with the distance that works for you. So right now I've got the hands wide apart, and I'm really just going over to the side. A couple breaths here. And you know you have to really engage the fronts of the legs, engage the backs of the legs into the sit bones so you have a firm, grounded pose through the legs. And then inhale back up and exhale to the other side. Really firmly in those feet, in those heels. Then inhale up and just bring it down and find a little closer in. It doesn't have to be way closer in, but whatever works for you. And then we'll lift the arms up again and do the same pose. And you just notice what your arms are like, or shoulders, or the stretch, if it's different. And then inhale, coming up. Exhale to the other side. Inhale, coming up, and then just bend the elbows and you're pulling the towel or the blanket behind you. A little bit of stretch in those shoulders, in those armpits actually. And then release the blanket and put it down. And just stand in Tadasana. Actually, one of the interesting things you could do here is just to feel what it's like when you have space under the armpits, and lengthen the arms down instead of like squeezing them in. That's where this can remind you. Often they have an image of oranges or something in your armpits that helps to create that space here so that you can have that length through the arms and the hands, fingertips, toe tips. And then inhale those arms up. And again, if you have issues with the shoulders, you can always modify, bring them a little bit lower. But we're really trying to, as best we can, really find the length in those arms. And then go into Utkatasana, powerful pose. You need to really lift the abdominals here. And inhale up. Exhale those arms down. We'll do a few cycles of that. Inhale the arms up. Exhale into Utkatasana. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale into Utkatasana. Inhale up. Exhale down. And get your blanket like we did in big toes together, knees wide. Again, you can just put it, just a little bit here, or you can roll the whole thing up. So this time we can't lift the arms overhead, but you can imagine getting that length and then going into Utkatasana, and the blanket helps remind you to lift the abdominals, but also to really pull down with your hands. See if you can get a little bit more seat in the pose. We'll stay here a few breaths just to feel that weightedness. And then inhale up, put the blanket down or the towel. And then we'll just do one more cycle of that and just notice if you notice a difference. Inhale the arms overhead and then exhale into Utkatasana. Powerful pose. Couple of breaths there. And then inhale up. Exhale down. And then again, just have the blanket folded like so. And we'll do some standing poses supporting the front of the foot. So we'll start, and it's easier just to have this stable and, switch sides. So this is where sometimes we use blocks, but sometimes blocks are too high for this. That's why they created yoga witches. As you know, there's every kind of yoga prop possibilities you can have. And sometimes I'm just trying to show you how you can use things at home. So you're really pressing that ball of that foot, and so it's elevating a bit through the heel. Now, if you have hyperextended knees, you need to soften behind them, or that's where you put the block here under your calf muscle. Now, inhale those arms up, really reach to the side, and find your shin or your thigh, and then the top arm can come up. And then inhale up as if somebody's pulling you at that top wrist, and then release that side. Pivot the foot back in so your feet are parallel, and then change sides. So my back will be to you, and I'll have my foot there. So this just gives you something really concrete to press the ball of your foot into. And again, if you have hyperextended knees, you can soften them or put a block on that calf muscle. Inhale those arms up, shoulder height, and then reach, 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 find the thigh or the shin, and the top arm can come up. Couple of breaths here. Inhale, slowly coming up. You can bring those feet parallel and back together. Now, this time, we are going to switch the way we use our foot on the blanket. So you're going to take the back foot, and it's that, heel is going to go on there. So that side edge of your foot, while you bring this front foot forward, and then you're going to bend that front leg, really pressing back into the blanket. Forearm comes onto the thigh, and then the top arm comes up and over into Parsvottanasana. So this gives you something very literal to press that outer edge of your foot into. Maybe you'll feel a little more length. And then inhale, slowly come up. You can bring those feet parallel. And then because my blanket's going to be in the same place, I will bring my other foot, the heel on it, and the side outer edge of the foot on it. And then I'm going to bend deeply, place the forearm on the thigh. The top arm can come up and over for Parsvottanasana. And then inhale, slowly come up. Bring those feet parallel and closer together. And then the first way we'll practice this position is you can either have blanket towel like this, or you can have it, actually you can have it like that or even like this. We can actually play with it in all the different ways. So you're going to come onto the towel blanket with your knees, and we'll just do some camel pose, or at least variations on camel. So with it flat out and with me on it this direction, you can see if you can feel the shins pressing in. We're going to practice, we're going to use the blanket in all kinds of ways in this pose. And you first really want to press the hips forward. And we'll just gently go into the hands on the chest. And just trying to lift that chest up first. Don't worry about dropping the head back. We're just going to slowly go into this pose. And then you can come up and you can come down and sit on the feet to release that. And then the next way we're going to do it is you can fold the blanket for your feet. So now you can put the blanket under your ankles and the feet are behind it. And often I do this with people who have like their heels are up higher, they have a hard time flattening the feet on the floor. The only problem with this is that you might feel your knees more on the mat, but you can also roll the mat up under your knees if that's bugging you. And then again, press the hips forward, lift the chest up. If you feel up to it, you can drop the head back. And then lift the chin to the chest. And you can have a little seat here where you actually have support under your ankles. That might actually feel pretty nice. Then inhale, come up. And I remember what I was doing. Oh yeah. Took me a minute. Now put the blanket over the top here, over the top of your ankles, and then bring the hands on the hips. And what you can do with your thumb is you're really lengthening the lower back, lifting the pelvis forward, lifting the chest up. And here you've got a little support. You've got the blanket here. If you want to bring your fingers back or your hands back. I'm having a hard time getting there myself, but anyway, that's a possibility. And then inhale, lift the chin to the chest, and have a little seat on that. A couple of breaths there. And then for the last one, put that blanket under the knees, but tuck the toes under. So now you've got the heels up. And a lot of people can do this one where you lift the hips up and you can actually get the heels with your hands and come forward. And then the chin to the chest. And slowly sit. A couple of breaths here. And then depending on what you have in your house, you can now take the towel or the blanket and put it in a place where if you have a wall, you can put this under your hips and do feet up the wall. You can also have your feet on a chair with this under your hips. Or you can just go into plain old Shavasana with this under your knees, if that feels right for you today. Whichever position feels right for you today. And then we'll go into some Shavasana. Just begin to notice what you notice in your body. Are you noticing heat in the body? Are you noticing cool air on the skin? What do you notice with your breath? Then can you begin to feel parts of your body that are in contact with the floor? Can you begin to feel more weight in that part of your body? Perhaps it's the back of the head or the shoulder blades, part of the rib cage or the pelvis. Wherever you're feeling that connection to the floor, you just give more weight to those areas. Can you really widen those collarbones out to the collarbone, out to the shoulders, really opening that space. And then softening those collarbone notches. And if you notice tension anywhere, can you soften and imagine your breath softening that area? Perhaps the breath moves in that area to soften it. And slowly begin to deepen your breath, finding a bit of movement into your fingers, your toes, giving yourself a big stretch, rolling to your right side. And you can slowly come up to sitting. What do you really want to bring in for 2023? Have a beautiful day. Namaste.
for watching and joining us.